Wait. Hold all the way up. Belcalis Almanzar, Cardi B. The same Cardi who was on a leaked phone call screaming she was going to beat somebody up on sight, just walked into the same party as that somebody. Same room, same night, same open bar. And instead of hands and feet flying, we got barefoot performances and fireworks. Bro really spent months telling the whole internet what she was going to do when she see her, and then had the audacity to be photographed in the same building sipping like nothing ever happened. Listen, before we crack this whole thing open, do me a solid. Tap that like button. Hit subscribe if you're not already family, and turn on notifications, because the receipts I'm about to pull out, somebody's PR team gonna be big mad by the end of this video. Package Section 3. Incident Report. So here's what actually went down. Belcalis Almanzar, Cardi B, and Isis Nijagaston, Ice Spice, aka the Bronx Baddie, both pulled up to billionaire Michael Rubin's annual all-white party out in the Hamptons on July 1st, 2026. Cardi performed. Ice Spice mingled. Zero smoke. This after months of Cardi allegedly threatening Ice on that leaked phone call and dissing her by name on Am I the Drama? Bro really lined up her whole villain arc and then RSVP'd yes to the same guest list. Now, let's pull up the receipts and see how we got here. Y'all remember where this whole mess started, right? Because I gotta walk y'all through the actual receipts, not the rumors. In September 2025, an alleged audio clip leaked online of somebody who sounded exactly like Cardi B on the phone with Ice Spice's manager, James Roseman Jr., aka Baby James. And in that call, reported by outlets like Billboard, Complex, and Hot New Hip Hop, the voice on the other end is heard going nuclear. According to Complex's write-up, Cardi allegedly said she was going to beat Ice Spice's you-know-what when I see her. She also allegedly compared Latto to something I can't repeat on this channel unless I want my whole account deleted. When I heard that clip circulating, I had to sit down. That's not a subliminal. That's not a bar in a song. That's a phone call where somebody's literally planning violence out loud. Bro said what? That's the dumbest thing to say on a recorded line I've ever heard in my life. Rule number 1 of beef. Don't put threats on somebody's voicemail. Basic. Then came the public apology, but not to Ice Spice. On October 4th, 2025, Cardi B hopped on X, Twitter, and dropped a whole essay aimed at Alyssa Michelle Stevens, Latto, the big energy star herself. According to Billboard's report, Cardi wrote that she was sorry for talking about Latto during a heated conversation, and she offered, and I quote from Billboard's reporting, to privately buy her a bag. A bag. Like this is Coachella, and we're settling beef with a Hermes Birkin. When I read that buy her a bag line, I had to do a double take. Nah, that's the move of somebody whose lawyers walked in the room and said, sis, fix this. Now. But the real kicker? Latto ain't want the bag. In her interview with The Breakfast Club, later broken down by Complex on that Big Mama album rollout, Latto essentially told the streets, I don't need your money. My man already got that. On her song Gimme Dat, Latto rapped, per Complex's lyric pull, really got a Hermes store in my closet / talking. About buyin' Big Mama a bag like my N ******, I ain't already bought it. When I first heard that bar, I ran it back 3 times. Latto was not playing. That's the response of a woman who was insulted and refused to be Venmo'd out of her rage. And Cardi, as reported on Instagram and picked up by multiple outlets, responded saying she truly understands how Latto felt, which is code for, I got caught, let me play nice. Now let's talk about the album, because Cardi didn't stop at the phone call. On September 19, 2025, Cardi B dropped her sophomore album, Am I the Drama? And according to TMZ and People, on one of those tracks, she called Ice Spice a snowface B*********H for bragging about replacing her. TMZ quoted the bar, whose spot is you to keen? My spot's forever. Ho, I'm like a Dalmatian. Ice Spice really thought that Munch-era momentum was gonna knock Cardi off the top. Nah, bruh, that ain't how the hierarchy works. And now you got called the Dalmatian on wax in front of the whole world. Embarrassing. And Ice Spice's manager? He denied everything. According to Hot New Hip Hop, Baby James publicly denied leaking that audio. Cardi turned around, per Yahoo Entertainment, and accused Ice Spice's whole team of leaking it themselves to boost the rollout of the Y2K album. Everybody's pointing fingers. Nobody's taking the L. Classic industry chaos. Now that we got the quotes locked in, let's connect the dots on the timeline nobody's paying attention to. Now check this. The timing on all of this is way too clean to be a coincidence. That leaked audio dropped in September 2025, the same month Am I the Drama was rolling out. That apology tweet to Latto went up right as Latto was building buzz for her Big Mama album. And now, less than a year later, everybody's in the same room drinking champagne like none of this happened. That's not beef. That's a promotional cycle wearing a costume. Remember that phone call? Dropped 48 hours before the album stream numbers were locked in. Coincidence? I don't believe in those, sweetie. The apology came out after Latto already had bars locked and loaded for her project. So Cardi apologized, Latto didn't accept, and both of them got a #1 trending moment out of it. That's not damage control. That's marketing. And Michael Rubin's party? This is a business meeting disguised as a rooftop function. According to ESPN and Page 6, this year's guest list included Jay-Z, Alicia Keys, Lil Wayne, Karl Anthony Towns, Kevin Durant, Tom Brady, Travis Scott, Tate McRae, Meek Mill, Ice Spice, Quavo, and Cardi B. This ain't a party. This is a boardroom with a DJ. New York Post even reported that somebody offered $2 million just to walk through the door and got told no. If you at that party, you didn't come to fight. You came to network with the people who sign your checks. So Cardi did all that yelling and then walked into a room where fighting would have cost her millions in endorsements. That's terrible strategy. Bruh. Any real advisor would have said, sis, either you a killer or you a businesswoman. Pick a lane. She picked the lane with the fireworks show. Say less. And here's the part y'all sleeping on. Latto and Cardi are reportedly locked in to perform at events together this festival season. As mentioned in that Broadcasting Baddie IG breakdown, they're allegedly linking on the Essence Fest circuit. That means the label ecosystem has already decided this beef is over before Cardi ever posted an apology. The bosses signed the peace treaty first. The rappers found out on Instagram like the rest of us. Any smart player would have de-escalated privately before going public. But bro chose to threaten violence, get leaked, apologize for the wrong person, get clowned on wax, and still show up to the same party. That's 5 unforced errors in 12 months. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Now check this out, because I've been staring at the photos and clips from this party, and there's details nobody's talking about. That Snowface be asterisk 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 H bar from the album? Zoom in on that one word, Snowface. That's not a random insult. That's a targeted reference to Ice Spice's complexion and her fan-base demo, which industry-wise codes as crossover pop rap. Cardi wasn't just insulting her looks. She was accusing her of being manufactured for a specific market. That's a way deeper shot than people realized. And Ice Spice never responded to that specific word. Because she can't. Because she'd have to explain the business behind it. If Ice had half the strategy people give her credit for, she would have clapped back the day the album dropped. Instead, silence. Then check this. Cardi performed barefoot. Look at any clip from that party. Shoes off, feet on the stage, mic in hand. That's not a fashion moment. That's a psychological flex. In Bronx culture body language, taking your shoes off in a rich person's house is both a comfort move and a I'm at home here, not you claim. She was marking territory in front of Ice Spice without saying a single word to her. Ice really stood in that room and didn't catch that? That's embarrassing awareness levels, bro. Now the Quavo situation. Look at the seating charts and section pics from that night. Quavious Marshall Quavo Huncho himself was in the same section as Cardi, dancing on the same couch. Kiari Cephas, Offset, is Cardi's estranged husband and Quavo's Migos groupmate and cousin. This is the third time in recent months these two have been photographed too close for comfort. That's not a coincidence. That's a pattern. Either Quavo's sending a message to Offset, or Cardi is, or both. And Offset really out here watching this in real time? That's the kind of humiliation you can't unsee. And Tobey Maguire? Yeah, Tobias Vincent Maguire, Spider-Man himself, was reportedly caught up close and personal with Ice Spice at that same party. News.com.au and Just Jared both reported the two were seen chatting closely and, according to the News.com.au write-up, appeared to kiss on a balcony. So while Cardi was on that stage marking territory, Ice was upstairs building her own moment with a 51-year-old Hollywood A-lister. Ice didn't need to check Cardi. Ice checked out into a whole different tax bracket. If Cardi thought she was the main story of the night, she got upstaged by a balcony kiss she probably didn't even see happening. Now, let's see how the media covered this circus. Page 6 framed the whole night as a celebrity showcase. Alicia Keys, Cardi B perform for star-stacked crowd. No mention of tension. No mention of the phone call. Just glamour, fireworks, and A-listers. That's the sanitized billionaire-approved narrative. Because when Michael Rubin's team is your PR filter, the beef gets edited out of the story. But ESPN? ESPN framed it as a sports and culture summit. Their headline highlighted Lil Wayne, Karl Anthony Towns, Kevin Durant. To them, this was less about hip-hop drama and more about the athlete-mogul alliance. Which tells you what this party actually is under the hood, a wealth ecosystem, not a nightlife event. Then you got the tabloids like news.com.au going straight for the juice, leading with Tobey Maguire and Ice Spice on the balcony. Zero interest in Cardi's beef. All eyes on that alleged kiss. Now some of Cardi's supporters online are saying she had a job to do. She was booked to perform. She couldn't fight even if she wanted to. I hear you. But remember that Harper's bizarre situation with Annika Marriage, Nicki Minaj? Cardi threw a shoe at Fashion Week. On camera. In front of press. She didn't care about the professional environment then. So she was working defense? That doesn't hold up when we got video evidence of her being willing to fight in a much more high-profile setting. Any Cardi stan still spinning this is doing gymnastics that would qualify them for the Olympics. The receipts don't lie. The receipts say, threats got made, threats didn't get executed. And now the party pics tell the real story. But here's what nobody is willing to say out loud. Something about this whole thing feels OFF. And it's been bothering me since the guest list dropped. This wasn't beef. This was never beef. This was a psychological warfare, but not between Cardi and Ice Spice. Between Cardi and her own carefully managed public image. Here's what I mean. When you look at that leaked phone call, that album diss, the apology to Latto, none of these moves make sense as beef. They make perfect sense as controlled aggression release. Cardi has always been the Bronx girl who'll swing. That's her whole brand. But she's also a billion-dollar businesswoman with McDonald's checks, Reebok checks, and now a whole rollout for an album that needed noise. You can't drop an album called Am I the Drama and not be the drama. Nobody would buy it. She had to feed the machine. So what did she do? She created controllable friction. Enemies she could shoot at, but never actually with. Ice Spice, a younger, lower-tier competitor who couldn't punch back with real weight. Latto, collateral damage that pumped up another female rap moment. JT and BIA on the album, same thing. Cardi built a whole villain era on the backs of women who couldn't retaliate at her level. That's not gangsta. That's not real street. That's calculated. That's chess. And Ice Spice? Bro is a prop in Cardi's rollout. She was never the target. She was the content. Ice's whole career trajectory got hijacked to promote Am I the Drama, and Ice's team either didn't realize it or they were in on it. Cardi accusing Ice's manager of leaking the tape? Convenient. Ice's manager denying it? Also convenient. Everybody sells more records when the internet is arguing. Ice Spice really thought she was in a beef with Cardi. Nah, sweetie. You were the promotional partner. Big difference. Now here's the spicier take. The Michael Rubin Party wasn't the olive branch. The Michael Rubin Party was the board meeting where the beef was officially closed. When you step into that Hamptons compound, you are stepping into a room controlled by Jay-Z, Michael Rubin, and the moguls that run this whole culture. And in that room, you don't decide who your enemies are. They do. Cardi and Ice Spice weren't just sharing space. They were being told to share space. The peace was mandated from the top down. That's why nothing happened. That's why nothing was ever going to happen. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. Because if that phone call was authentic, and if Cardi really did make those threats, then attending that party was her publicly submitting. Publicly saying, the mogul said fall back, so I'm falling back. Every time she stood on that stage barefoot, every time she smiled at the fireworks, she was performing a corporate ceasefire. She didn't get to negotiate. That's the humbling nobody's talking about. Cardi didn't stand on business. Cardi stood down because business told her to. That's the difference between having a machine and being owned by one. The Cardi fans defending her by saying she was being professional don't realize they're actually proving the point. Professional means you follow the chain of command. And the chain of command at that party said, no touching Ice Spice. Which means Cardi's entire, when I see her energy, was never hers to execute in the first place. Bro is a puppet, and the label ecosystem is pulling strings. She talks tough on wax, apologizes when the tape leaks, and shows up when the billionaires call. That's the pattern. And that's what they won't tell you on TMZ. Real Street Code says, if you say it, you stand on it. Cardi said it. Loud. Repeatedly. And then walked into the same party and did nothing. So either the phone call was fake, which means somebody in her camp benefited from us thinking it was real, or the phone call was real, and Cardi just publicly showed she can't back her own words when the money is watching. There is no third option. And that's the truth they really won't tell you. Watch the next few months carefully, because this whole situation is about to unfold in ways nobody's ready for. Yeah, bro is definitely going to crash out again soon. Cardi's whole 2026 rollout is built on being the drama. So the moment album numbers start slowing, expect another leaked audio. Expect another surprise diss. Expect another apology tweet 3 weeks later. The pattern is locked in. And every time it happens, Ice Spice, Latto, or somebody in that female rap ecosystem is going to catch a stray. When that next leak drops, Ice Spice is going to look flat-footed again because she still hasn't built a response strategy. And Cardi's team is going to profit off it. Same script, different quarter. Nah, and this is the scary part. Ice Spice's next move is going to determine her whole career. If she walks into the studio and drops a real targeted, bar-heavy response, she becomes a real competitor. If she stays quiet and lets Tobey Maguire become her main headline, she becomes a novelty. Ice is standing at the exact crossroads Nicki was at with Cardi in 2018. And history says, rappers who don't respond get replaced. Ice ain't ready for what happens if Cardi decides to bury her on the next album. She's not built for lyrical warfare. She's built for hooks and TikTok. That's a knife fight in a gunfight, bruh. The silence right now is the scary part for Offset. Because Kiari has been way too quiet while his cousin Quavo keeps ending up on the same couch as his estranged wife. That's a Migos-level fracture waiting to happen. When Offset finally cracks, and he will crack, we're going to get a diss track or a public meltdown that makes the Ice Spice situation look like a warm-up. Quavo doing the same section, same couch, move 3 times in a row isn't accidental. It's provocation. And provocation only ends one way in that family. Watch the group chats. Something's cooking.